Hey everyone, this is Nolan from Natty Nolan's Yu-Gi-Oh page. I wanted to bring some fun today. It's Gimmick Puppets. It's not a great deck, but it's definitely something you could bring to locals, maybe get a top spot with, maybe win with. It's definitely got some teeth. It's got a few win cons. It has the Gimmick Puppet of Disaster Leo win con. It has a burn plus damage win con, the battle phase win con. Astral Karibo itself is basically a win con in this deck. So I'll go over some of the stuff along the way. I just kind of want to get right into it here. 3 Terror Baby, 2 effects to this. Once per turn on normal summon. You can target a Gimmick Puppet in grave, special summon it. You can banish this card from graveyard, and then for the rest of that turn, your opponent cannot respond to the activated effects of your Gimmick Puppet monster effects. And also, since it's level 4, it's level 4 fodder for your very specific Gimmick Puppet rank 4 that you run in your extra deck. The next card that we run here, of course, has to be our Gimmick Puppet Humpty Dumpty. This is a starter extender. It's a good search target too. When it's normal or special summoned, you can special summon 1 Gimmick Puppet monster from your hand. You can only use that effect once per turn, but it's still really good. Again, it's a good search target, and it's a good banish target for your next card, which is Dreary Doll. Once per turn, you can special summon this card from a graveyard by banishing a Gimmick Puppet from your graveyard, exactly like Humpty Dumpty, once its effects are already used. And it's just like all of these ones prior, it's also a target for machine duplication. So it's 0/0, so you can summon 2 of these, get Disaster Leo right off the bat there if you want to do that win con or extend and combo. Next one, sadly this is not a machine dupe target, but still one of the best Gimmick Puppets. You can special summon this card from your hand by pitching a Gimmick Puppet. That is not once per turn, so that's also really good for the deck. So if you have 2 of these in your hand, or if you search one, you can get a lot of fodder to graveyard. And also you can banish this card from your graveyard, and for the rest of that turn, your opponent can't target Gimmick Puppets. You control the monsters with card effects. So more of those. 2 Magnet Doll. I wish we didn't have to run this, but there's not a better Gimmick Puppet available at this current point. It's a Cyber Dragon for your deck. The only condition is that you have to already control a Gimmick Puppet, but it is an 8. It's still good. Trade in material, or you can special summon it. Good fodder for Dreary Doll. 3 Gear Spring. This is part of another OTK that you can do because it is a machine dupe target. Very easy to summon. And if you have 3 of these on the field and your opponent has 3 monsters, you can target, it's per copy, it's not once per turn, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls. That monster's attack becomes 0 until the end phase. So that's permanent decrease until the end phase, so they can't, unless they have something that modifies attack or defense, there's nothing they can do about that. And if they have 3 monsters, you can just bing in with your 3, so it could be like 2 strings and the Link monster for at least 7,500, and you can inflict them for the last 500 off of strings. Again, machine dupe target, which is always really good. Double Astral Karibo. I feel like this is just kind of standard in a lot of Xyz decks that aren't named cast here at this point. Makes any monster you use this as Xyz material for on summon to basically be a Dragoon. Can't be targeted by can't be destroyed by card effects, can't be destroyed by battle. And also with the new spell card overlay network, you can just add this back to your hand while it's material. So your monster retains the effect because this was already used as the summon material for it. And if it's back in your hand, you can just use it during your next turn as more follow-up, make another pseudo Dragoon. And then since this is a hard go second base deck, running 2 Kaijus, it's any level 8s. They don't stick around on the board long enough for this to matter. So any 2 level 8s, trade-in targets, good for clearing any problem cards really. Again, since this is a go second deck, run 2 Condolence Puppet. This is Foolish Burial on crack. You send Gimmick Puppet monsters from your deck to your grave equal to the number of monsters your opponent controls that was special summoned from the extra deck +1. So what that means is if they control 2 monsters from the extra deck, you send 3 Gimmick Puppets. So it's 2 + 1 or 3 + 1, 4 + 1. And then while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish it and then target a machine Xyz monster you control. That machine Xyz monster can't be destroyed by card effects. So it's also pretty good. Not as good as Astral Karibo, but pretty helpful. And that's only until the end of the turn. Double Perform Puppet. This is good for modding levels on the field and also combos with itself. So if you banish a monster, or Dreary Doll banishes a monster, and a monster you control, like if you want to crash, or if your opponent crashes into it or beats one of yours by battle, then you can target a banished Gimmick Puppet monster and special summon it, which is really good for the C40 Gimmick Puppet of Dark Strings, because its effects aren't once per turn, which I'll show you. You can possibly summon the monster up to 4 times per turn if your hand is cracked. 1 Junk Puppet, because once per turn. It's also not searchable. It's still really good though. This is also how Dark Strings can use the effect more than once per turn. Double Overlay Network. This card was a godsend. I love this for Utopia decks. I love this for Gimmick Puppet decks, and I'll probably run it in any Xyz based deck besides Castira, maybe even Castira one day, because this card is just insane. You can target a face-up monster you control, special 1 monster from your graveyard with the same level. It just locks you into Xyz monsters, which again, for anything like Castira, Gimmick Puppets, Utopia, who cares? You're only summoning Xyz monsters. And the other effect, which is also once per turn, you can target a Xyz monster you control, add a card attached to it back to your hand. So you can just add Alstra Kribo, or add Bisque Doll, or add Magnet Doll, or whatever. Like, it's a really, really good card, and you can do it every turn. Of course, like I said, you have to run your 3 machine duplications. I wish these were ultis, so sorry about that. But I don't even know where my supers went. I think they're in my Edison Machina deck. But yeah, machine dupe, because you have a bajillion targets in this deck, and it's just insane. It's not once per turn, so you can bait them with an Ash on the first one. And hey, if you have a second one, try ashing that one, nerd. 3 trade-in. You run all level 8s but 6 monsters, which is a very minimal amount. So 6 trade-in, get your draws, really good. And then the rank ups wouldn't be a Gimmick Puppet or Utopia deck without some rank up magics. So the first one and second one here, we have double copies of Argent Chaos Force. This card is very good. You can target a rank 5 or higher Xyz monsters, which that means it can also be a C Xyz or a C monster. So special summon a C or C Xyz, that's 1 rank higher than the monster you control that you targeted, and then on res, since it's in the graveyard and monster summon, you just add it back to your hand, or if you need it later and you Xyz summon again that turn, you can just add this back to your hand. So really good. Again, this is part of our a very funny card that I have in my extra deck, which I'll put to the side up here for so I remember to talk about it. The next rank up magic that we have is Quick Chaos. This is just for battle phase for Dark Strings for a burn plus the 3,300 points of damage and a draw 1. So it's really good. You keep all the materials. It's just good for battle phase. Then lastly, we run these 2. Numeron Force and Baryon Force. So Baryon Force, if your opponent controls an Xyz monster, you rank up into this, which can also, it's the same thing with Chaos Force. It can be any Xyz monster with the same type, but 1 rank higher. And if they control an Xyz monster, you can attach material from their monster to your monster. So that's why this one's in here. And then Numeron Force is actually even better. It's the same thing, targeting Xyz monster, special C, or this one is just for C monsters, but we only have C. We don't have. I think we might have the 1 C Xyz. I forget if it is, but you special summon that's 1 rank higher, and then on res, it negates all other face-up cards on the field that isn't your monster. So any continuous traps, spells, field spell, monsters, it's all permanently negated. So that's why this one is in here, because it's really, really good for like turning everything offline. And again, Baryon's Force is good for anything that's Xyz based, but I mean, they're all both good on their own, even if you're not getting those effects. So we run, for the extra, 2 strings. You can detach material, put string counters on every face-up monster on the field during your opponent's end phase. So, if you're just trying to sell in this, you'd want to make it with Astral Karibo, but we typically don't ever want to do that. During your opponent's end phase, you blow up all monsters with a string counter and inflict 500 for each. But we do play the Chaos variant, which is C40, Gimmick Puppet Dark Strings. This effect is not once per turn, so I'm going to read it. When it's special summoned, mandatory, destroy all monsters on the field with string counters, and if you do, draw 1 card. Then inflict damage to your opponent equal to the highest original attack among those destroy monsters in the graveyard. You choose if tied. And once per turn, you can detach material to place string counters on each face-up monster your opponent controls. So you summon this, blow up the monster, maybe inflict 3k. then you detach. If your opponent has any other monsters left on the field, maybe, you know, it can't be destroyed by card effect once, like the, I don't know, there's a field spell that does that, the Trap Tricks one. And then this goes to grave. You have Junk Puppet, Perform Puppet, you know, any other way to bring it back. You summon it, or you summon your second one later, blow up the field again, draw a card, blow up the field, draw a card. So you can summon this card up to 2-3 times typically per turn. Again, it's not once per turn, so you can draw up to 3 cards, inflict a massive amount of burn, probably attack for game at that point. So we run 2 of them because it's an insane card. I love that card. Then we run the 2 Giant Grinder. Most people should know what this does. Once per turn, up to twice per turn during main phase 1. Detach material, pop a special summon monster. If it's an Xyz monster, you deal damage equal to the attack to your opponent. Then we play the Chaos variant, which is Gimmick Puppet Giant Hunter. So you pop any card on the field by detaching material. Soft once per turn, so if you have both copies, you can do this twice per turn. You detach material from this card, target any card your opponent controls, destroy it. And if it was a monster, you inflict damage equal to its original attack. So if you do the Numeron, this is kind of why you want to run the Numeron one. If you're able to like get through, like chew through most like spell trap negates, you only have like monster negates, not too much they can do. So you summon these by using Numeron Force, and Numeron Force negates all the effects. You do this, you pop a card, inflict like 3k, you summon another one, pop a card, inflict 3k, and hopefully attack here for lethal damage. So it's just, again, a really, really good card. And it clears spell traps too, which is really good against back row decks. And then the alt wing con, which I do run, Leo and Disaster Leo. So I'll show you the little thing that we do here. So you use any rank up magic. Again, it's a little crusty, but it's still kind of good. So you typically want Astral Karibo plus any 2 other materials under this card. And the last piece that you need, and again, this is very easy to do. It's just kind of a corny win con, but it's very, very easy to do. And you want overlay plus any rank up magic. So you have this on the field, use effect, you detach material. Great, it has Destiny counter. I don't care about that though. You go overlay network, use the effect, detach Astral Karibo to add it back to your hand. Fantastic. Do the Numeron Force to special summon this. Now all their effects are negated if you're worried about that. And you can go effects, detach, and now there's 1 left. And burns you for 1,000. Now, if this card is able to stay on your side of the field until your next turn, very, very crazy. If it's able to stay on the field to your next turn, you go effect again, burn them for another, so they should be down by 2,000. Immediately just go to end phase, effect, and again, if this is very, very hard if this all works out. If this card is on the field and your opponent has 2,000 less life than you and has no materials, you win the duel. That's the cheesy win con, but I run it because it is very funny and you don't really have much else to do in your extra deck. You could run stuff like Dingirsu, the Heratic rank 8 if you want to. There's other rank 8s that you could run. I just don't really care about that. Dingirsu is good, but it doesn't really benefit you in any way besides just sending a card. Which again, going second, it's not bad, but it's just, you know, kind of bait. I'd rather just, you know, try a cheesy win con like that. Plus, if you just leave Leo on the field, you detach and you use overlay network, it only has 1 material left. So you can't use this anyway unless you're just planning on using the Astral Karibo to sit there for 3 turns and attempt to resolve this, which is possible. But if they have something like Solic where it targets for permanent negate, then you're not going to get the win con off anyway. So this is like optional. Again, you don't have to run this. You can run Dingirsu, the Heliopolis, I don't know, anything else that's a rank 8, the Felbrand, for all I care. I just do this because it's fun. I mean, it's a fun deck anyway, so, you know, who cares? The next one that's higher than 8, Chaos Dyson Sphere. It requires 3 level 10s. But if you have any of your Chaos rank 9s, and you have, for example, Chaos Force or Numeron Force or Barian Force, you can just target any of them and use as material to summon into this. And so it should have about 2, maybe 3 material under it. During the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, non-targeting, attach that monster as a face of Xyz material. Once per turn, inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each Xyz material attached to the card, And also return, if it does have Dyson Sphere under it, you can detach any number of materials, inflict 800 to your opponent for each. But this is mostly just used for, like, because typically you get your opponent down to about 7,500 if you're going for the like massive wombo combo. And then if you just so happen to have another rank up in your hand, you can just end the duel by ranking up in the Dyson Sphere and then use its effect to burn for the last 900. And that's game. So that's why I run it, because it's actually, and it comes up. It's good. Double Gigante's Doll. This is a board wiper. When it's while it has material, you detach 2 materials, then target 2 monsters on the field for cost. You gain control of those monsters. This second effect only works for monsters that have a level or rank, I believe. So it only works on regular monsters and rank or XYZ monsters. You can't use the second effect, or it does work on synchros as well, but you can't use them on link monsters, for example. So you take the monsters, and then you tribute this card for cost. Every monster on the field becomes a level 8. So you could have 2 or 4 monsters on the field at that point, and then you can use your opponent's monsters as Xyz material. And then last 2, Chimera Doll. It's a good card. During the main phase, if it's link summoned, you can special summon monsters. You can't special summon monsters from the rest of the turn except Machine Xyz, so that's why I don't run anything except Machine Xyz. You can take Gimmick Puppet from your deck and either add to your hand or send to the graveyard. Then if you control only Gimmick Puppet monsters, which includes itself, you can special summon a Gimmick Puppet monster from your hand. So run 2 because it's a really good combo extender, and I love the artwork because it's really, really creepy. So yeah, that is my take on Gimmick Puppets. I know some decks run the Danger package, which I personally really just don't like that package at all. I don't think it's good enough to run. You know, you get level 8s on the board, you get your draws, but at the same time, you might end up losing valuable resources like Puppet Parade, your rank up magics, your overlay network, machine dupes. It's just not worth it. So I run this as pure as I can. With the going second cards in there. Like I count overlay network as a going second card just because there's like 2 effects on there that help you keep extending. You have all of your rank ups, you have Condolence Puppet, the Kaijus. So yeah, that's my take on Gimmick Puppets. I'll probably I could probably show you guys a little test hand here really quick. So again, you're going second. Let's see what we got. So we got Humpty, Gear Spring, this, and Force. Yes, I mean, it depends on what you're going up against. Obviously, like if you're going up against a bunch of negation, it's not going to work. But let's just, pretend like we're not, going up against something crazy here. War Rock for all I care. So you could do Humpty Dumpty effects to special Bisque Doll. And with that, if they still control more monsters, you can special summon Gear Spring Spirits. And then you can link these 2 away for your Chimera Doll. Chimera Doll's effect will activate. This time you're just going to add to hand the Dreary Doll because we have trade-in hand. So I'm going to move all this down actually because I'm realizing now it's off camera. So let's do that. Okay, so you have those on board, you have trade-in in hand. So what you're gonna do is with this hand, you can activate your trade-in, you can pitch the Dreary Doll, you can draw 2 cards. Condolence Puppet's really good here. If they control monsters from the extra deck, you can send that. You have Terror Baby, and this can special summon a monster from your hand. I don't know if it has to be, it has to be all at once. So you kind of lose out on that, but that's all right. So what you can do here is you can use Dreary Doll's effects, banishing the Humpty Dumpty to summon itself. Then you can overlay. This is when you go, this is like the 75, typically like about 7,500 points of damage, depending on what your opponent has here. Or more, it again, just depends. So you can go Gimmick Puppet strings, you can use that effect. You can send the Bisque Doll to inflict a massive amount of damage right after we use Argent Chaos Force to rank up the strings into Dark Strings. And you can go Chainlink 1 Dark Strings, Chainlink 2 8 Argent Chaos Force to add it back to your hand. So that might inflict 3,000, then you draw another card, which is trade-in. That's not that bad. Now that that's done, you know, it depends on if you want to do this or not, but you could go Ardent Chaos Force again. This would actually be dead, and you can go for Dyson Sphere, and then you can go effects of Dyson Sphere, so you can inflict 900 points of damage, so maybe that's 39. You attack, and that's 7,500 points of damage, given that your opponent had a 3,000 attack monster. You also have Junk Puppet here, so if you wanted to, you could have removed this when you had C40 on the field to put string counters up, and then Junk Puppet in order to special summon. Alternatively, oh no, that would have been the best option here. Yeah, so like Gimmick Puppet of strings, and then that would have been 10,600 points of damage. Again, this is given that you're not playing through Interruption, which, you know, with our hand with Condolence Puppet, we probably could have played through at least one form of Interruption. Because again, this is like a very much so locals deck. You're not trying to do anything crazy. So yeah, I mean, that's really all you're doing. You're going into basically these three monsters that do a massive amount of burn damage, you know, try to attack for game. I know that was kind of fast, but I'm like running out of time here. So, but yeah, it's just something I wanted to share. I like the deck a lot. I've been playing around with it a lot. It's just a fun deck. Like for me, I main, you know, like Cash Hero, Dark World, but this is something I could bring to locals and have a good time with, win or lose. But yeah, I just wanted to share it. Let me know your thoughts. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if there's anything else that you'd like to see being built. I have hundreds of deck cores, so really the sky's the limit on that. And if you have any suggestions for Gimmick Puppets even, I'd be happy to know. So thanks guys, I'll see you later.